All right, class. This is our first lesson, and lesson will be on place value, decimal place value. So I'm gonna go over the decimal place value. This is one of your units on Cons Academy, so I will be monitoring that section very closely because I want everybody to hit 100% on that one. So far, we have Amy, Belinda, Vladimir, Charlie, Sergio, Emily, Jonathan, Villa, and Michael that have already gotten 100% on that unit. But we're going to review just to make sure that we don't forget these skills. So I'm gonna go over decimal place value on this video. I have a number here, 493,397 and 321 thousandths. And I'm going to go over the place value of each digit of this number. And I'm going to start by looking at where my decimal point is. So it's very important that you remember where your decimal point is, and the digits next to it will allow you to identify the place value of each number. So I like to start next to the period. I know that the digit next to the period would be the ones, right? So 7 is equal to 7, and this is a ones place. The digit that is to the left of the 7, the 9, is the same as 90, and this is the tens place. And so this is equal to 90. This is equal to 7. The digit next to the 9, this 3 right here, is the hundredths. Notice that because it's a whole number, there's no TH, because we put a TH when we're doing the decimals. The value of the 3 or 300ths, we will write as 300. And the following 3, notice that there's a comma because every 3 digits we put a comma when we're going to the left of the decimal point. This 3 is the thousandths, and the 3 in this place value would be equal to 3000. And kind of didn't fit here. The next digit that we have here is the 9, and this 9 is the 10 thousandths. And then the 4, which is the 100 thousandths. Okay, and I do suggest that you take notes on this, because when you write it, it will help you remember it more. So we have so far the ones, the tens, the hundreds, the thousands, the 10,000s, and the 100,000s. Then after the period, we have our decimals. These are numbers that are smaller than 1. The 3 in this, the 3 after the decimal point to the right is called the tenths. And notice that we add, if you remember, we add the TH. This is the tenths. And the value of this number is 0.3. After the tenths, we have the hundredths. Hundredths. Oops, hundredths. Okay, and that will be equal to 0.02. 0.02. I know it's kind of hard to see. And then finally, we have our last digit here in the thousands place. And again, it's thousand with the TH at the end. And this digit will be equal to 0.001. So these are the place value. This is how we do place value. Now, I'm going to go ahead and go to the next screen. And here's an example of a problem that a lot of you who have not completed the decimal place value on cons have not mastered. I picked the three that you guys need more help on. So this is one of them, and its a sample problem would be to write this number in expanded form. How will we write 23.928 in expanded form? Expanded form, remember, we're breaking down the number by its place value. So in this case, I would start, well, we will need to start from left to right. So we look at the biggest place value in the number. In this case, it's a 2, which is in the tens place. How do I know? Well, we can go back to our chart, and I know that 2 spaces from the decimal point is a tens. So you have to make sure that you have already memorized your place value chart. 23.928. So I'm going to start by writing the 2, in expanded form, which is 2, that's a number, and we're going to multiply that by the place value that it represents. And in this case, it's the tens. So the way that we write the tens is by writing a 10. So the first one will be 2 times 10, and then we're going to add the next place value, which is the 3. So I'm going to open parentheses, and the 3 is our number, and then we multiply it by the place value. In this case, the place value where the 3 is a ones. So I'm going to multiply it by 1. Then we close parentheses. I'm going to my next digit, so I will put the plus sign because I'm adding that next digit. In this case, okay, and then I'm going to open parentheses, and then we have a 9. Because it's on the other side of the decimal point, I know that now I'm talking about decimals, and they are numbers smaller than 1. I start with my number, 9, and I multiply it by the decimal place value of the 9. In this case, we see that the 9 is right next to the decimal point, so that is the tenth place. How do we write a tenth? Okay, remember we write 1 over 10. Because I'm doing it on the computer, we put a slash. If you were writing it with the pencil on a paper, 1 over 10. And we close parentheses. And then we add and we go on to the next digit. The next digit we have a 2. That's our basic fact. And then I multiply by the place value of the 2. In this case, we see that it's next to the tenths, so this means the place value here is a hundredths. Okay, refer to the decimal place value chart that I went over earlier. 2 times, what will be the fraction of the hundredths place? Well, it's 1 over 100, the hundredths place. And then finally, our last digit, okay, we're going to add, and it's, the basic fact is an 8. And then we multiply. I'm going to go ahead and enter the whole thing so it doesn't get confusing. 8 times, and then we look at the place value, which is the thousandths. So we write 1,000th, the fraction, so which is 1 over 1,000. And then we close parentheses. And that is expanded form. We wrote 23 and 928 thousandths in expanded form. Now let's go to another example. Please make sure you pause or you look at it again if you need to. The next problem we have, write the number in decimal form. And we have 3. So now it's in expanded form, and now we're going to write it back to a decimal point or a decimal number. So we have 3 times 10. So this tells us that the 3 is in the tens place. So I'm going to start and I write my 3. And then it says plus 2 times 1. 1 tells me that it's in the ones place. And, well, the ones place is right next to the tens. So I'm going to write 2. Plus, and here we see a fraction, 1/10. That means that I need to write in my decimal point because now we're going on the tens place. These will be in order. They need to be in order. So I know that I can put my decimal point already. And we have 9 tenths. So I'm going to write 9 because that's my tens place. And then we're adding 3 times 1/100th. And we know that the next place value is my 100th. So I'm going to add that 3. So my decimal should be 32.93. And let's see. And finally, our last example is we're going to write this decimal in word form. And for this, we're going to start again from the left to the right. And we start with an 8. We have a whole number, and it's in the ones place. So I'm going to start and write 8. 8. Ooh. And remember that to indicate that the decimal point, you don't say 8 point, you say 8 and. So the and means that there's a decimal point. 8 and now you will say the whole digit and you will use the place value of the last number. In this case, we have 32 and the 2 is in the hundredths place. So we will say 8 and 32, and then because it's in the hundreds, we say hundredths. Okay, and that right there is written in word form, 8 and 32 hundredths. All right, I hope this is clear. You can watch the video again if you need to. If you have any other questions on regards to this, please let me know. That is in writing in expanded form and word form. There is one more that I almost forgot that I wanted to go over is rounding. So let me quickly go ahead and go over that if you forgot about rounding. So if there's a problem that says, okay, round to the nearest, for example, the nearest tenth, and you have a digit, let's say that your digit is 39.6. 45. There you go. Okay. So if we have here a problem and it says, and we lost my screen. Okay. Round to the nearest tenth. So that means that your last digit of your answer should be the 10th place. In this case, my 10th place is a 6. So I will have to look next door, and if the number is 5 or bigger, then you will increase your 10th place. But if it's smaller than 5, which is the case because 4 is smaller than 5, then you will leave it as is. In this case, round it to the nearest 10th. Okay, that means that my 10th place will be my last digit. And then I look at the 4, it's smaller than 5, so the answer is 39.6. Okay, now let's say that another example, another problem. Let's say that it was 36.7 instead, and the problem is asking you to round to the nearest tenth. Okay, so our 10th place is a 6. We look at it, the next digit next to it, it's a 7. So that means that we need to go up 1. So our 10th place becomes a 7. So our answer would be 39.7. Okay, so that is another one that a lot of you have not mastered. or maybe you haven't even started, but I want you to focus on those areas on Khan's Academy. All right, thank you.